Well, for more on Putin's re-emergence and the Russian military Arctic drills, we're joined by Anton Fedyashin. He's a professor at American University and the executive director of the Initiative for Russian Culture. Anton, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
You just got back from Moscow.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for considering you're exhausted from your long travels. How much are people talking about Putin and where he was during this 10 days? Are they talking about it, or is it being covered in Russian media like the media in this country has been covering?
Yeah, no, it wasn't covered in the Russian media, which focused on other events, and the big one, of course, being the Crimean annexation anniversary. But people in the street were certainly talking about it, and I heard a mix of confusion, of course, but also a lot of anger, in the sense that a lot of people are very supportive of Putin. His ratings are astronomical right now, and people were wondering where he could have disappeared and whether it means that he's planning on stepping down or if something had happened and why they're not being informed. So I imagine there's a lot of relief in most of Russia, where he really is enjoying an enormous amount of popularity.
Interesting. Okay, so let's get to the Russian military exercises. Sure. We're talking about some 40,000 troops, 41 ships, 15 submarines, 110 aircraft.
Right.
Does this seem like a routine drill to you?
Well, there's nothing routine about Russia's Arctic coastline, which is the longest in the world. And since Norway just launched exercises with 5,000 men, and this is a country of 5 million people, then if you were to expect the Russians to do something proportional to what the Norwegians are doing, they should have been using 150,000 men, one for each million, but they're not. So as a matter of fact, if you take it per capita, Russia's training exercise is significantly smaller than Norway's. But when you consider the size of the country, its population, and the length of its coastline, this is actually a fairly small exercise given the amount of territory that they have to defend.
So why is it getting so much attention?
Because Russia's getting a lot of attention, and there are war parties in Europe and in the US who are waiting for news like this in order to justify growing budgets or budget or requirements and asks.
Do you think there is a message in these exercises from Vladimir Putin, and what do you make of the timing? Of course, the conflict in Ukraine is going on, and then he vanishes for 10 days.
Sure. I don't think there's any connection between the vanishing and the exercises in the north and all over Russia. But look, all countries conduct military exercises on a regular basis. Russia conducts about 3,500 a year. They're getting a lot more attention these days. I think the message of this one in particular is that Russia is still a player all over the Eurasian region, including in the Arctic.
And do you anticipate more of these types of intense military exercises, especially because of what's going on in Ukraine and the rising tensions between Moscow and Washington and the West?
I think we're seeing a lot of tit for tat, a lot of posturing on both sides. And so every time NATO does something, the Russians do something which is even bigger and wider in scale, which of course they can afford to do. Their army is bigger than any of the single NATO armies. So when NATO moves into the Black Sea, the Russians move into the Black Sea. And so as long as this posturing continues, we'll see this back and forth. The most important thing is for it not to become confrontational, but there's no sign of that going that way.
So you're not really worried about this? You're not worried about rising tensions between Moscow and the West and where that could lead us
No, I
next?
think we should all be a lot more worried about how the Ukrainian economy is going to be fixed, because without Russian participation, that's not going to happen. And so that's where the world should be focusing its attention, not on this posturing, which is inevitable.
Okay, and I'm sure that'll be a discussion for another time.
I'm
Thank
sure
you so
they will.
much. Anton Fedyashin, we appreciate your time and perspective, sir.